Hello, this is Nick again, and we are now going to go through another video about classroom behavior management. Again, these videos are sponsored by the Royalty Approach to Education, and you can also go to opscores.com to calculate students' overall performance score. That is opscores.com. Calculate the student's overall performance score. You could also see my writings if you were to go on the bookpatch.com, or teacherspayteachers.com. That's teacherspayteachers.com. So we're still on part one of classroom behavior management. This is section A, which is maintaining discipline in the classroom. And in that section, we are preparing for classroom discipline even before the start of the school year. Even before the start of the school year. That's when you actually have to start preparing for the job. Please note that the information presented in these videos are prepared primarily for quote-unquote regular classes. It is therefore understood that classes that are classified or labeled as special education in the various forms as they are designated in different states would have to be exempt from the suggestions given here, except in places where special references are made. The information covers the range of classes from elementary to high school. As mentioned before, effective classroom discipline begins before the school year starts, and there are various types of groups that a typical teacher will encounter every year. Here I'm just going to deal with around three of the general types that you could find as you begin your journey in teaching. Number one, let's start with the real good class. This could be a class with advanced, honors, or gifted students, or they could be called different names in different school districts or different states. But basically, these are the cream of the crop. These students are well behaved and could even cry if they do not complete their work or fail an exam. They take their education very, very seriously. You might want to pray for students like these, and maybe someone might listen to your request. Incidentally, not only is the students very diligent with their studies, but even their parents. In fact, sometimes these teachers will have problems with some of these parents because they are constantly on top of what their children are supposed to do, and they could become very specific in terms of the assignments that their children need to complete because they want to make sure that their children understand the assignment and complete the assignments as, as it was dictated by the teacher. But you can be assured that you will not have any form of behavioral problems from over 95% of such a group. Now, at the end of the school year, you might find one or two acting up, but not in any serious manner. Whatever they do, you can easily control that also. This is the type of class you'll see on demonstration videos of best practices in educational classes or workshops, but they will not be in the majority, and you might not even get a chance to have one of them until you have developed some level of status at your school. Yes, and status is very important at school. It does happen. You know, if you're a new teacher, whether you are new to teaching or new to the school, it is very likely that you might get the worst classes, or the quote unquote worst classes, until you work your way up in the building. It does happen a lot in education. So don't be deceived or dismayed or be disappointed by some of those videos in educational workshops and professional developments that provide ideal classroom situations. These are situations in which you see students are very well behaved on these videos, but those are not the students that you will necessarily have. You will not encounter many of those situations. In fact, potentially disruptive classes are generally the norm, and you have to plan to minimize the negative effects on the teaching and learning environment, because the disruptive behavior does affect that learning and teaching environment. Number two, the average class. The other type of class could be a very average and ordinary class in which there's a mixture of good and not so good students. By good, I don't mean very intelligent. You know, those very intelligent students belong to the previous group. But occasionally, one or two might be misplaced and put in that group. Uh, the good that I refer to here is really about behavior. It also means that the good could be quite consistent with studying and doing their work. Again, they might not be extremely intelligent, but they could be very consistent and they do understand the material. You know, they will be the ones that you will appreciate most because at least they do try hard to do the right things. The other portion of this group is not very attractive, or alluring. Um, you have to put a little bit more energy to want to get out of the bed in the mornings and go and teach them. They don't do much work. Some do absolutely nothing, and they could be quite disruptive. Number three, the one you wish you don't or you didn't have. This is a third group of possible students that you might teach. These will drag you down. They really will drag you down. Many days you will have to rethink a lot of things. It would not be easy to see a silver lining through the overcast. The overcast is going to be quite overcast. But there's one there. There's a silver lining there. And sometimes you have to look for it. Uh, might be a little deep, but it's somewhere down there. The majority of these students will be disruptive. They will not do much work, and they will not care much about school. It is a class for which you will write more referrals and make more parental contacts. generally, when you have tried many of the things that you know you can try, including administrative assistance, then you sometimes have to resort to contacting their parents progressively sometimes, including having parental conferences. But in any case, you will still have to love these students because only by loving them you can attempt to make some difference in their lives. So these are some of the conditions for which you have to prepare yourself to teach. It's really not about educational theories, although they do have their place, and we will talk about those as we move along in these videos. It's also not about research or data, nor is it about the popular educational fads that come and go. Those we will talk about also, and they do occur quite often in education. But it is about possible situations in which you might find yourself when you get into the classroom, and you will have to find ways to deal with them. But don't forget that around you there will be a number of teachers who have gone through the same processes and have stayed in the profession. Some have even come to love it. Ask them for help. Don't be afraid. Teaching could be a wonderful experience. Students' behavior notwithstanding, and it is great to meet them every day. I know some people might find it difficult to believe, but that is really the situation. I sometimes can't imagine how people could leave their homes in the mornings and go to a place to work where there are no children. It must be quite boring out there. No shouting, no noise, no misbehaving, no quarreling, no cursing, no crying, no children. How could you go through an entire day without having to deal with the myriad of unfathomable personalities of those creatures we refer to as students? In the next video, I will take a closer look at individual student groups that you might meet as you prepare yourself to deal with discipline in the classroom, even before the start of the school year. Until next time, this is Nick.